In this episode of Fantasy Football Advice, I'll be talking about how to draft a contending team. The draft is the most important part of fantasy football. If you do not draft well, you are behind the 8 ball to start off. This video will be giving some tips on drafting a contending team in fantasy football. Before you start, you should take the time to pre-rank your players. In the first round, you should draft the best available running back based on your pre-draft ranking. In the second round, draft a top-end #1 wide receiver. The third round, you should draft another workhorse running back. This will give you 2 powerhouse or workhorse running backs. This will be a great start to a team. Next, in the fourth round, draft another #1 wide receiver. This gives you 2 #1 wide receivers and 2 workhorse running backs. In the fifth round, draft the best available quarterback based off your pre-draft ranking. Draft a wide receiver that is either a #2 option on a good team or a #1 on a bad team in the sixth round. In the seventh round, I would draft yet another running back as a security blanket. This player will most likely go on the bench, but it's always good to have a backup in case one of your star running backs you drafted in the first 3 rounds were to get injured. In the 8th round, I would draft a tight end. You don't have to get a star tight end to get a contending team, but you need a solid tight end that can contribute. In the 9th round, draft a top defense. A top defense can surprise you. If you are able to get a defense that is able to get 10 points weekly and week in and week out, that will help you a lot. The 10th round, I would also get another defense. This time, I would get a defense that has the potential to get better this season. Perhaps this would be a defense that was under the radar a bit last season, but that didn't break out yet. This is the round to get a breakout defense. In the 11th round, draft another tight end as a backup. Personally, I like to have 2 tight ends because if you were to draft a tight end in the 9th round or 8th round, there's no guarantee that that tight end is going to put up great stats week in and week out. The tight ends that get taken there depend on their production, depend on their matchups. In the 12th round, draft another wide receiver as a bench player. This receiver should be a solid #2 wide receiver. Of course, this takes preparation to find a #2 wide receiver this deep in the draft, but this is all down to prep work. In the 13th round, draft a backup quarterback. Quarterback is perhaps the deepest position in the draft, so you can afford to get a really good backup quarterback really late in the draft. In fact, you can even get a backup quarterback in the 15th round if you got a really good quarterback in the top 5 rounds. In the 14th round, draft a kicker. In the 15th round, draft a wide receiver with the potential for a breakout year. So, by drafting like this, you get proven players, but also a mix of players that have not broken out yet and have the potential to have breakout years. By drafting like this, the probability of your players not succeeding is lower. So the possibility of you being a contending team is way higher. Next episode, I will be talking about rookies to watch for in fantasy football.